It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege of interviewing the SUNY Oswego's head women's ice hockey coach, Coach Mark Digby. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on this, Brandon.
Thank you. Can you talk about how you knew that you want to get started in coaching in college women's ice hockey?
Yeah, well, it's not really sure it was ever knew I wanted to get coaching in women's college hockey. It was always just college hockey for me. And growing up, a guy from Southern California and kind of having this growing passion for hockey, I really didn't care what the role was, what the gender of the players was. It was just always about wanting to be involved in the game. And I was really fortunate coming out of my playing career at Brockport and having an opportunity to join, the coaching staff there, a year after I graduated. And then just over my time here, then here at Oswego as the men's assistant and getting comfortable in the community, getting comfortable with the people here on campus, the administration on campus. And then, when the call came and, asked me if I would be interested in this, it was a pretty easy yes. And, knowing a lot of the players that had come through the program, that had shared facilities with us when I was still on the men's side and getting to know a lot of the people who were already involved in the program. It was a fun opportunity for me to be able to keep my family here in Oswego and take over something with a great foundation, that Coach Dillon had gotten started years ago. So
What was that experience like for you being an ice hockey player at Brockport?
it was fun. It was like I said a second ago, being somebody from a non-traditional hockey market. I think anytime you get to live out your dream of playing college hockey, it's a special feeling. And knowing, all of the other players at that time, there wasn't a lot of us in Southern California playing. And thankfully now the game's grown so much that non-traditional markets like California, Florida, Texas, even the Carolinas, everything's coming up right now. And I think getting an opportunity to play there and meet players from all over North America, it was a really fun environment. And something that I'm super grateful that I had the opportunity to do that.
How was that feeling like for you as a player, getting to represent SUNY Brockport and putting on that jersey and representing them?
Yeah, well, um, it was probably made even more special by the coach that I had, Brian Dickinson. He was the head coach that I had there for all 4 years. He's still the head coach there now. And when he recruited me along with his assistant Dave Evans, who unfortunately was only there with me for 1 year, but I was just really grateful to have somebody like that really taught me a lot about coaching and taught me a lot about, knowing the people that you have. And the more I learned from him about the way he operated the program and the people that he recruited, the more I knew that this was the career that I wanted to get into. So, anytime you got to put the jersey on, it was a lot of fun. But I was one of those people that tried to take advantage of that every day in practice. And I love being at the rink, love being around the game, love being around players. And it was a really special opportunity for me to get to be a part of what he was doing there at the time.
What were some of your collegiate ice hockey moments?
Well, probably my best moment in college. They wouldn't like me to talk about it much around here, but it would have been like 2003, I guess it would have been like spring 2003. We were fighting for a playoff spot, and the Oswego team, they hadn't lost, I think, since early November. They were the number one ranked team in the country at the time. And if anybody knows about Romney Fieldhouse and what that environment was like, it was a really difficult place to play. They'd get, a couple thousand people in there and they probably only had 1,500 seats, and they'd be right on top of you. And the way the dome was of that, because it's an old airplane hangar, it was so loud in there. And at the time they had some some great players. Donnie Patrick was here at the time. I think he was a two-time All-American. Mike Lukacek was here at the time. Andy Rozak, Jocelyn Dubord, um, had great goaltending. They were a really strong team. I think they ended up losing in the national championship game to Norwich that year. Um, but we went into their building and we won. I think it was a 3-2 game. We scored with like I don't know, 90 seconds left or something to go up 3-2. And that's probably the best memory that I have of playing, was winning that game, and getting to be a part of the bench, and the celebration that went on in that.
For you, what was that transition like, going from being a player to getting on the coaching side of SUNY Brockport?
Yeah, well, it was interesting, in a little bit unique, I'd say too, from the standpoint that when I was a senior in college, we went through like a very large transition. We had a new assistant coach had come in. He was a very active recruiter, and I think there was just a new philosophy taken by the coaching staff. So it would have been my junior year of college, um, and they brought in. We had 19 freshmen that came in my senior year of college, and so getting a chance to be a captain on a team with 19 freshmen was it was unique, I'd say, trying to get 19 new players acclimated into not just what is college hockey, but what is college life like, and what's it like to be a college athlete, and for them to understand that it's not like junior hockey. There's a lot more that goes into it. And then when I graduated, I had a really good opportunity as I was finishing up internships, to help coach the high school hockey team there in Brockport. And at the time, a man named Coach or Scott Empey was his name. And he was a pretty legendary coach there in Western New York, won a couple state championships there, and very intense coach, very smart hockey mind, and again, really cared about his players. And so getting to learn from him for a year, and then that was the year that Brian Dickinson had actually taken a leave of absence from the hockey program at Brockport at the time to run the student union. And then throughout the course of that year, realized that he was destined to be a hockey coach, and he wasn't getting out of it. So he came back, and I remember untying my skates from a high school practice, and him walking into the locker room there and explaining to me that he was going to come back the following year, and asked me if I'd be willing to come on in and help him out. And again, at the time, I was thinking I was, going to be the new assistant coach for the New York Rangers or something. Like, it was that big of a deal to me, to get into college coaching. And very fortunate that he had that conversation with me, and that he had that faith in me to help him kind of continue on what he was trying to do there, and really help create what they have there now. And it's been very fun. And in that year that I came back, the team had only won, I think they won 4 games the year after I graduated, when I was coaching the high school team. And then the following year, we added in Sean O'Malley, who's now the men's head coach at Lake Forest. And we added in Todd Sheridan, who was a very good goalie, who actually was coming in after a battle with throat cancer. And so just adding in those two guys, and just the environment that they were helped just reacclimate into the right way of doing things. And all of a sudden, I think we won 14 games or something that following year, and hosted playoff games there in the 2 years or the 4 years that I was there as an assistant. 2 of them we ended up hosting playoff games, which was a first in the program's history there at Brockport. And it was really fun for me as an alum to be a part of that, but also to get to coach um, those 19 guys that were freshmen when I was a senior. Those were all my first group of players. And so kind of knowing the relationship that I had with them as a player, and then the relationship that I had to build with them as a coach. And it was a lot of fun. And Brian gave me so many responsibilities that year, and yeah, forever be grateful to him.
What was that experience like for you, getting to step onto that ice that you played on and now being our coach at SUNY Brockport?
Yeah, well, I think for me, and again, knowing my background, or just the experience that I had there, and how grateful I was to get that experience as a player. Again, like I said, I showed up every day like I was coaching the NHL. Like, it was the best. And I wanted to be around the rink. I wanted to be around the players. And I was just, really passionate. And fortunately, I still am passionate about what we do, and, wanting to find a way to build and find a way to take that program to the next level. And knowing everything that that school and that Brian in particular had done for me, it was really important to me to make sure I did a good job. And then, and I think as the 4 years went on and I continued to grow as a coach and grow as a person, it's I was just fortunate that this opportunity as the assistant here at Oswego came up when it did. And, I was able to kind of continue to take the next steps in my coaching career.
How was that feeling like coming to Oswego and first becoming assistant men's ice hockey coach?
Yeah, well, it was great timing. I know that. Fortunately, Danny Ford, who was here before me, I knew him, as a local guy here to Oswego. I had known Danny for a while. Pete Sears was the goalie coach at the time, which, if you've never met Coach Sears, you need to, because he's just a special person. And everything that he went through during his time here as a Laker and then as a teacher here in the Oswego community. And then I had known Coach Gozick for a long time, also. So getting to the program when I did, obviously there was they had a very successful year the year before, losing in the national semifinal game to St. Norbert. Um, but I think getting to come in and work with the people that were here, Eddie G, Mike Gray, that's the video guy, Coach Sears, Danny Ford, and Danny being the outgoing assistant, he met with me before and kind of laid out a bit of a roadmap for how to be successful in it, both in the community, working with Coach Gozick, working with Mike Gray, working with the players. And and then there's just I guess the additional pressure that you feel when you go from where at Brockport we were trying to build, something special. Whereas you get here and you've got, 60 years of history and tradition that it already is special. Now the hard part is trying to continue that on. And, as we used to chuckle, because it's always fun when you're building something and when you're part of climbing the mountain. Well, when you're standing near the top of the mountain and you're trying to fight off all the people nipping at your heels, and it's a lot more hard. And it's certainly just a different challenge. And so coming in that year after they had already been to the national semifinal, knowing the pieces that we had coming back, it was a new experience for me. Just, I guess the excitement was different because it wasn't a happy excitement every day. It was more of like a nervous excitement, like, oh my gosh, we better do a good job because the expectations are that we're going to return to the national championship or the Frozen Four at least. And I remember how excited I was when I think that was the year we beat Bowdoin in the NCAA quarterfinal here. It was like 7-6. It was an odd game. And we come back in the locker room and I felt this like it was for probably the first time all season that I felt there was the excitement, because it's like, okay, we accomplished what we were supposed to. Whereas the rest of the players were like, okay, yep, we're back. And it was just, I'm like, gosh, can't you guys get excited? And they're like, no, we're not done yet. And so it was just an entirely different feeling and different excitement and different vibe, I guess, so to speak, coming from Brockport where I was, where, we hosted the SUNYAC quarterfinal or SUNYAC play-in game, I guess it would have been called at the time. And we were thrilled to be hosting that. And then you come to a program where the expectations are that, you're playing for a national championship every year. It was certainly a learning experience for me, and I'm very grateful that I had that opportunity.
As an assistant coach on the men's side, what was that experience like competing for the Frozen Four from 2012 to 2014?
Yeah, each year was a little bit different. I think of the first year where, again, the team was just coming off their first trip to the Frozen Four since the national championship run in 2007. And so the expectation was that it was just going to happen. And over the course of the season, I think we learned a lot about ourselves. But that first one, it was a quick turnaround getting from here. I think, like I said, I think that was the year we beat Bowdoin, but I can't remember. And then trying to put together the itinerary of how fast you've got to get out to Minneapolis, because that was the year we played out at Ritter. and trying to put all those pieces together as quickly as we did, and then focus on the hockey part, because it's not like you're just going on a fun trip out to Minneapolis. You're getting out there, you have all these outside distractions, and then you've got to play Adrian, right? Who at the time I mean, they're still obviously extremely strong, but that was Coach Fogarty's their first senior class. So I mean, there's 17 or 18 of those seniors that had built that program with the expectation to win, and you know kind of our reward for getting there is having to play them. So it was quite a challenge, and we played really well in the game. So did they, but you learn a lot about managing some of the distractions, when you go through an experience like that. And then the following year, gosh, I'm trying to even think of what year that was. I think we ended up playing um, Amherst. I think that was the year we played Amherst. We beat Amherst in overtime in the national semifinal, but that was up in Lake Placid. I might be getting the years wrong here, which as I'm saying it makes me feel a little bit spoiled that I was able to experience it enough times to get confused about which year is which. But we laugh because one of the things that we learned was, how quickly you have to start planning things in order just to get the non-hockey pieces out of the way so that you can focus on the hockey. And I think that's the year that we beat Adrian in Adrian. Paulie Rodriguez, I think, scored an overtime goal, to send us to the Frozen Four that year. And we get back on the bus after the game. The guys were excited, obviously. Anytime you beat a good team like Adrian on the road, that's quite an accomplishment. And they were all celebrating and excited and happy to, be heading back to the Frozen Four. And I'm already on the phone with restaurants in Lake Placid trying to, schedule meals and all that stuff and make sure our bus was ready. And so I tried to learn from the experience of the year before, and just, get ahead on all the things that matter but don't actually matter to the on ice performance. And it's yeah, pretty unique. And then I believe the following year probably would have been the most surprising year. Um, Again, I might be wrong on the year, but I think that's the year that we had 17 or 18 freshmen. Was supposed to be a big rebuilding year. And yeah, that we beat Bowdoin here. We came back from down like 2 or 3 goals in the third period. David Titanic, he still lives in the rafters here for that one, because he came out of nowhere as our captain that year and put the team on his back. We were down a couple goals. I think he had 2 goals and an assist in the third period. We ended up winning by a goal. Um, yeah, that was the year Bowdoin's bus. Actually, we had a huge storm. We were in a state of emergency on Tuesday night or Wednesday night, whatever night the game was scheduled for. So the game got canceled till the next day. Bowdoin's bus slid down the hill into one of the local restaurants they were eating in. So yeah, Coach Mahar got a fun story out of that one. And then we ended up having to travel to Babson the following Sunday. So they pushed our game back a day for that one. And they were such a good team. They had a really good goalie at the time. I mean, I think they're always known for having a good goalie and always known for being so well coached. And it was fun to play them and watch how hard our guys played in that game. And I think we scored in a 5-on-3 in the first period, and then we scored a shorty in the second period to go up 2-0. We scored, I believe, an empty net goal to win it 3-0. And to this day, probably one of the best hockey games I've ever seen our teams play. I think just we were on such high alert that year because we knew how good Babson was. And it was just, we felt like that was almost our national championship game. Like if we could get through this one, we got a chance. And yeah, we were a bit of a road warrior team that year. I think we had to beat Plattsburgh in Plattsburgh, beat Geneseo in Geneseo, to win the championship, to move on. Beat Bowdoin here, beat Babson on the road, all in the playoffs. Ended up losing to Stevens Point. And Chris Brooks, he was still the head coach there at the time. And I think they ended up winning it the following year, or going back to the Frozen Four the following year after that too. So, it's fun experiences. I think each one had its own unique story, and um, got to meet some really, really special coaches along the way. Tim Coughlin at St. Norbert, AJ Aiken at St. Norbert when they beat us. and just how they handled those situations and how professional they were. Chris Brooks, when we got a chance to play them, Ron Fogarty, when we got a chance to play them, Mike McShane, and as you play those teams and you watch the coaches and you see how they work, how they operate, how their teams play, you learn a lot about what you want to be as a coach. And I'm just very fortunate that I've had those opportunities and have tried to learn as much as I could from all those people.
What was that feeling like becoming the head women's ice hockey coach and getting announced to become the next head coach?
Yeah, what was the feeling like? Well, it'll be hard to talk about it without getting emotional, I can tell you that, because um, for me, I was never in a big rush to become a head coach. I just wanted to be involved in the game. I wanted to be around good people, and I wanted to try to learn as much as I could about the game so that when I did get the opportunity, I was able to do it the right way, and I was prepared. And the year that I was able to work here, with Coach Dillon and learn so much from her, yeah, I'll forever be grateful for what she did for me and kind of the experience that she created for me here. And she did such a good job of building this program, from the foundations of, strong academics, strong in the community. And when I was able to really take over, we tried to maintain as much of that as possible, and also just increase the energy that we had with bringing in some new life, some new players. And it's been a really fun project to take on. And of course, for me to be able to keep my family, here in Oswego, it's great. It's such a unique little town, and just a cool place to be, fun place to raise my family. And we're pretty invested in what we do here in Oswego. And to be able to, say that I'm the coach and to be the coach of one of the two hockey programs here in Oswego, it's something I take a lot of pride in.
As a head coach, what was that feeling like the first time you got to step onto that ice?
Ah, it was different. It was gosh, trying to even think of the right way to word it, because when as an assistant coach, you take a lot of pride in just the relationships that you build with players, and as a head coach, you have that same feeling, but there's also that extra pressure, I think. And so I think to experience that for the first time, even though, I'd already been through a lot as a coach and seen the growth of one program, at Brockport, going through the 9 years here with the men's program and learning so much there, but to finally be, kind of uh, the last straw, I guess, of the program, it was a different feeling. And I was very fortunate that I was prepared for it, and, trying to implement a lot of new things with the program and build things up the right way here. Um, yeah, the first practice, especially, I think it was a lot of fun to, finally be the one out there directing traffic. And I've been spoiled rotten though with the people I've gotten to work with on this side of it too. And I think back, Megan Ahern was the first assistant that we had, and she was fantastic and funny, because I'd known her since she was a baby. Her dad and I are close friends, and so to be able to work with her, and um, yeah, I think she really was the perfect assistant for me to have that first year. Just her knowledge, her experience as a player, her professionalism was just exceptional. It was the perfect thing that I needed that year. And then through COVID, she got a great job opportunity and was able to move on in the professional world. And then Megan Quinn came in after her, and Megan's now the assistant coach at Syracuse and was with us for a year, did a tremendous job, and then had an opportunity to return to her alma mater. Danny Slaminski, that was here with us last year, again, just another, young, energetic coach, left a really high paying job for, yeah, I laugh with her all the time, like, Danny, are you sure this is something you wanted to get into? And, Danny was so much fun to work with, and just the energy that she brought to our program, and just tried to reinvigorate the program a little bit from an energy standpoint, and it was able to do that. And as as bummed as I was to see her take a new job this past summer, I was so excited and so happy for her. She's now the assistant at University of Vermont. And then yeah, really fortunate now, another really good young coach that I get to work with here, Grace Schnorr. Yeah, fortunately, she was on the job here for 6 days, and then she's on the plane to Italy with us for our team trip. So that's a heck of a first week of work for her. But I'm really excited and getting to be with her for 10 days straight on the road in a foreign country. You get to learn a lot about somebody and their values and everything. And for Grace, it's certainly a perfect alignment, I think, from a values and cultural standpoint. So really excited for the year. And yeah, that's kind of me getting to take over the program here.
What was that first win like for you, getting that first win as a head coach?
First win as a head coach. Kind of embarrassing. I don't really remember it. Yeah, I blanking out on that one. I don't remember. Um, Gosh, I don't know. Technically, who would it have been? Might have been Adrian. Yeah, I guess that would have been it. Like my first official year as the head coach. Um, it would have been Adrian, I think. Yeah, I'm sorry if this is a bad answer for you there, Brandon, but and if it was Adrian, I think, thinking back, well, if it's not, whatever, I'll tell you a little bit about that one. But when we went to Adrian, we talked a lot that week leading up to that. That would have been 4 years ago, I think it was. We just talked about us trying to take steps forward as a program and trying to learn as a program and getting a chance in the opening game of the season to take on, one of the heavy hitters in D3 hockey. And, we went out, we played a really good game. I'm not sure we were the better team in the game, but we scored more goals than they did, so we're not giving them back. We've all been on the other end of those plenty of times. So, um, that was, I think, a nice feeling for the players to understand that everything that we were trying to implement as a program in terms of just the culture that we were trying to build, and the players that we were trying to bring in, that we were doing something right. Anyway, I'm not sure everything was right at the time, but something was going in the right direction, and we were able to get a huge win on the road. And um, that, I think, kind of springboarded the season. And hopefully, this year too, we can take the lessons that we've learned from this past week of being overseas and kind of have a similar feel to that first game there at Adrian. And again, I don't know if that was the first win or just a good win that we had, but certainly, anytime you can get wins against good teams, and the first win of the season is always a fun one to get.
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you've helped have built for the women's ice hockey program?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think culture is one of those buzzwords, right? That everybody thinks or everybody's trying to do the right things, and everybody's trying to build something special. And, um, for me, I'll just tell you, this past week, we were over in Italy for 10 days, and it's fun when you get to spend every moment of every day with the players. You hope that you see some of those cultural things that you talk about a lot coming into practice. And the last dinner, we're sitting down, the players, the parents, they're all sharing a lot of the funnest moments, the funnest experiences and everything that you had. And I felt like a bit of a goofball because, it got to my turn, and what I was talking about was watching the players and how they were on the first night versus how they were on the last night. And you're starting to see, because the freshmen, they don't get to go, the new players, they didn't get to go on the trip, but you're watching this huge group of seniors that they've always been tight. Now you're watching them look out for each other in a foreign country. Now you're watching them go out of their way to make sure that our rising sophomores are included in every one of the inside jokes. It wasn't a group of 4 people or a group of 5 people. It was a group of 19 people that were in on it. And we talk a lot about the culture that we're trying to build, and that's all good, but to have gotten an opportunity to watch it happen, I'm just very excited about just the lessons that we took out of that for the year. And yeah, I think that says a lot about who we are, is just the family that we try to build, the family that we try to incorporate. And it's I'm sure a lot of places have great cultures, and we're just happy that ours, I think we're heading in the right direction here, and certainly building what we feel is something special.
Who are some of the teams in your conference that you compete against each week?
So our conference, Plattsburgh, Cortland, Potsdam, Canton, Morrisville, and Buffalo State, as well as William Smith, they'll be joining our conference for 25, 26, not this year, but the following year. And so I think we're in a great place, just with that conference, just the stability of it. I think there's been so much shakeup in college hockey the last couple of years, but I think the SUNYAC being as strong as it is, and now that we are, officially a SUNYAC conference for women's hockey as well, I think it's a really fun place to get to play because there's just no off nights in our league. I think even the some teams in our league that have the last, I should say, just the recent years that have been down near the bottom, you're seeing them take significant steps forward. And I think a lot of it's just their coaches are doing such a good job right now of recruiting and making it difficult on, the teams that have been in the middle. And I think those teams that have been in the middle, hopefully we're all doing a good job of making it tough on, the team that's been to the top. And I think as those gaps between the top and the middle and the middle and the bottom continue to close, it's made our league extremely competitive. And I think as time goes on here, hopefully we continue to see the growth and development of not just the top programs in our league, but the bottom, well, the teams that have finished at the bottom of our conference as well. And I think that's what's going to keep pushing the growth of our conference forward.
What is that home game atmosphere like when you have teams like SUNY Potsdam coming to your home facility versus going like to Adrian?
Yeah, well, I think we're spoiled rotten with our facilities here. At Oswego, we play in a very nice arena that's right in the center of our campus, and you know, anytime you get to walk out on our ice, it's a luxury, and I think our players understand that. And whenever we get an opportunity to play a home game and put on the white or put on the gold jerseys here, it's a lot of fun, and you try to go out and you play with that urgency that it takes to kind of uphold the traditions that were started here by Coach Dillon. And I think our players right now, they understand that. And whether it's Potsdam, whether it's Buffalo State, whether it's William Smith, whether it's Plattsburgh, when you get a conference game, especially in our building, you want to just go out and work as hard as you can and try to execute and be successful and get the points that it's going to need to get you into the playoffs and give you a chance to be successful at the end of the year.
What does that recruitment process look like for those prospective student athletes? And as a head coach, what do you look at in those prospective student athletes?
Yeah, well, I think the recruiting process, it's very different for every player. And it's funny, as you say that, I'm looking over our roster on the wall over here, and every player's got their own story. And one of the things that we try to do is just identify, like, not how we want to recruit a player, but how does that player want to be recruited? And that's usually one of the first conversations that we have with families, is like, what does the recruiting process look like? And then if, some of them know exactly how they want it to go, others don't have any idea. And so you try to work with them to lay out, okay, like, how do you want this to go? What do you want this to look like? How do you want this to feel as we go along? And then create, you know, as authentically as we can be ourselves. We want to tailor the environment to what they're looking for as well, and let them know that we're adaptable, right? We're not just a cookie cutter where everybody has to be this or it's not going to work, right? There's the core values that you look for in every individual, but beyond that, you got to get different personalities. You got to find people that are um, that can spice it up and be different. You can't have 25 robots in the locker room. You got to have some jokesters. You got to have some serious people. You got to have your um, just people that can keep it light at different times. And I think that's a huge part of what we try to identify in the recruiting process. Isn't Yes, there's the roles on the ice, but then there's the roles that people have to fill in the locker room and at the dorms and in the classroom and in the community. And those are all the puzzle pieces that you're trying to align as a head coach. Um, and again, as I know I've said it 100 times here, but I'm just very fortunate that I think our assistants have done a really good job of helping to identify the right people for what we are. And it's certainly made the environment here a lot of fun.
What is it like getting to see those freshmen put on that uniform for the first time representing SUNY Oswego?
Yeah, it's well, different for every player, just because their stories, what they've been through, how much sacrifice their families have gone through to get them here to, to this moment. And, it's always fun when you walk in the locker room and you see them wearing the jersey for the first time. And, whether that's a game day or, usually we get a lot of that emotion out on picture day, early in the season. And, it's fun. They usually, they've got a big smile on their face the whole time, and seeing their last name on a college hockey jersey. It's uh it's pretty fun. It's fun as I'm talking about it, getting excited for picture day. I'm not a big picture day guy. That's not really my thing, but um, I think here in whatever it is, 3 weeks when that event takes place, and our new girls get to put their jerseys on for the first time. It's always a special feel for them to know that, what I've kind of made my dream come true of getting to play college hockey. And, for me as a coach and getting to learn our people and getting to know where they've come from and their backgrounds and their families and the struggles and all that stuff that it's taken, it makes it a very rewarding feeling to see them, step out of the locker room for the first time in a college hockey jersey.
As a head coach, what is it like seeing those seniors putting in on for the last time?
It's hard. Yeah, it's always a hard feeling, I should say it's exciting, when you see them and the growth that they've had at the beginning of the year when they put the jerseys on as seniors, and you're like, okay, this kid went from being, that freshman sitting in the locker room that you were laughing with wearing a college hockey jersey for the first time, to now someone that's guiding the freshman, that's leading the team. It's a lot of fun, and knowing that for many of them, when they get done with that season, you hope that the lessons that they've learned by wearing that jersey will help them be more employable, will help them be a better teammate, will help them be a better mom. Because those are, the end of the day, that's what we're doing, right? I mean, they all laugh at me when I say it, but 5 years after you step on campus, nobody's really going to care how good you are on the power play anymore, right? They're going to care about how employable are you, and how good of a teammate are you, and all those things. And it's one of those visions that we have here that you hope the players never lose sight of. And we're really lucky right now. I think our leadership group's done a really good job of maintaining a balance between the hard work and the fun, but also the long-term goal that we have of making sure that they're all walking out of here of having a great experience. And I think when they take the jersey off for the last time, you hope that they're either, all smiles and celebrating a big win at the end of the year, and, kind of achieving the ultimate goal that only one team gets at the end of the year, or you hope that they're sitting in the locker room, with tears coming out, but a big smile on their face, knowing that they were able to be a part of something special here in Oswego.
What is it like getting to see those freshmen achieve those first big milestones in their careers and the seniors achieving their last big milestones?
Uh, it's nice, I guess, to see him score for the first time and all that stuff, but I don't know. We don't focus a lot on the individual stuff. You score their first goal, it's great. Um, More important, I think, for me, is watching the reaction of the rest of the team when someone scores their first goal. And I think that shows how that player has really gotten themselves to be an important part of the culture, to be an important part of the environment of the team. And I remember when Lauren Shell scored her first goal. I think it was last year as a junior. I think she had gone a couple years, without scoring a goal. And anybody that knows Lauren will know how entertaining she is to have around. Like, she's just a character, and keeps it fun every day. And when she scored, our bench just erupted. And I can't remember at what point in the game it was that she scored, but for some reason I don't remember it being like a 0-0 overtime goal to put us up and win a game, or something to spread the lead. It was just kind of an insurance goal, I'll call it, for nice purposes. But the bench just lost it, and everybody was just jumping and hooting and hollering and having a great time. And I think those are the ones that you remember, is just the feeling that you got on the bench, watching everybody celebrate for that person. I think Helen Van Dam was another good example. She scored her first career goal last year, second semester. I think we were in Morrisville, and Helen, just one of the nicest human beings you've ever met in your life, and would do anything for the good of the team. And of course, she scores one of the nicest first goals that I can ever remember somebody scoring. And again, just the energy, the volume of the bench, for a goal that really in the game didn't matter a whole lot. Um, that's, I guess, how I look at those. It's just a lot of fun to be a part of that. More so for you get a chance to hear the impact that that person's really had on the group. And looking back at some of the hat tricks, some of the shutouts that goalies have gotten, some of that, it's exciting for that individual. But I think it's more rewarding to see kind of the reception that they get from the team and seeing the impact that they have on all of that.
As a head coach, what is it like seeing those players representing the logo of Oswego on their jersey?
It's yeah, it's nice. It's Yeah, well, and again, I'm struggling for the right word right now. Part of it just in my head, thinking back to this past week, taking on um, HC Umbri Piota, and then taking on the Zurich Lions, the two Swedish pro teams, and getting to represent our school, not just, here in New York or here at home, but overseas as well. And to watch the players and just the pride that they take in putting on the jersey and knowing that it's not just a college hockey jersey, but it's our college hockey jersey. And I think, if you're doing things the right way, players understand the respect that they need to have for that and the environment that we try to create here. As players are putting that jersey on and they're getting excited for the game, they all start feeling that extra sense of pride in what they do. And again, not just about playing a game, but playing that game and playing it together and, being there for your teammates, all those things that hopefully are the lessons that I've learned from the coaches that I've gotten to work with, from the coaches that I've gotten to coach against over the years. And, it's, certainly exciting knowing that when you get a new group of players like we have coming in this year, the 19 returners, they've got a big job to do of getting those other players on board and making sure they understand the importance of not just putting on the game jersey, but putting on the practice jersey and being excited about creating that environment here too.
As a head coach, what is it like seeing your players going into professional ice hockey and playing?
Yeah, it's fun, especially just with the growth of the women's game over the last bunch of years. And one of the things that we talk a lot about in the recruiting process is that we recruit rink rats. We want kids that want to be around the rink. We want kids that are passionate about the game. And you got to have good students, you got to have good people. But for us, being someone that wants to be around hockey, that's equally as important. And we've been very fortunate in that the players that have gone on to play after here. I mean, Kate Randazzo, she just finished her fifth year, playing over in Sweden, all for the same team. Avery Webster was playing last season over in Sweden as well. Emily Gustafson was over there. Rachel Farmer was in Sweden. Those were just the group that was in Sweden. Um, and then from this past year, Kenzie Malone, she'll be heading overseas to play over in Austria next year. And as we continue to develop, the culture that we have here at Oswego and getting more of those players that want that environment afterwards, hopefully that continues to take hold. And with the growth of the game here and the PWHL really taking off, hopefully at some point we're able to see some Lakers playing there. And I don't know if that'll be anytime soon, just with the strength of that league. But as that league continues to get stronger, what we're seeing is more and more opportunities opening up overseas. And I know in our senior class this year, there's probably 5 of them that want to try to go over and play next year. And I think the experience that we had last week in Italy and Switzerland, that's giving them a little bit of a heads up on what that's going to take and how they're going to have to play in order to get there. And our players that have international experience already, Tilly Pethrick, who plays for Team Australia, Simone Bednarek plays for Team Slovakia. It's all those little pieces you hope are what helps build the culture and the environment that we have here. And as that continues to build, we hope that more opportunities come up for our players to continue playing professionally after they graduate.
What are some of your future plans for the program moving forward?
Future plans. I'm not sure what future plans, how this whole answer is. It's just every season you want to take steps forward. And I think if we're off track on something, then I guess the future plan would just be correct that and move forward. And every year, you try to take a look at, okay, what were our shortcomings? How do we fix those? And you try to address those, in the spring and over the summer, so that when you get to this time of year, you have an action plan and you're ready to actually have the conversations and put into practice the things that you have to get better with. Fortunately for us, there's some little things that we have to improve on. But I think from a big picture cultural standpoint, we have a lot of positive momentum going right now. Um, and hopefully as we, continue to grow and build year over year, you keep seeing, that incremental growth that I think we've had over the last bunch of years.
What advice would you give those incoming freshmen entering their first year of college ice hockey?
Advice for incoming freshmen. Yeah, biggest thing for me is, and it's hard to say it to an incoming freshman because you want to say it to seniors in high school and trying to get ahead of it, but really it's, if you've done your due diligence in the recruiting process of finding the right place that you belong, it's just be yourself, because you did the hard part, right? You found the place that you belong, and you can look around the locker room, when you're sitting in there for the first team meeting or for the first practice, and you can look at those scary seniors and you could say, you know what, she might look a little bit scary right now, and I might be a little bit intimidated right now. But 4 years ago, she was just as intimidated as I am right now. And she's now sitting there. And that's the path that I'm on. But that's where the recruiting process comes in, right? Because you got to find a place that you can authentically just be you. And if you're a goofball, you can be a goofball. If you're serious, you can be serious, and there's enough space in the locker room for everybody to be themselves. And I think if you've done the right things through the recruiting process and you've allowed the coaches and the program to get to know who you are, and you found a place where they're going to allow you to be who you are, you can be you on day one. You don't have to wait till you're a junior. You don't have to wait till you're a senior. You can just be yourself, and that will be welcomed by the upperclassmen. And I think that's the biggest advice that I can give to whether it's an incoming freshman or someone going through the recruiting process is find the place that you belong and find the place where you can be yourself. And um, all those things, I think, build up the experience that you can have as a player.
What advice would you give those rising juniors entering their senior year?
Yeah, so I guess I skipped ahead of you a little bit on a question there, because that would really be it, right? Find the place and be diligent in the recruiting process. Um, Advocate for yourself. Be willing to ask hard questions. Don't sit back and wait and hope somebody finds you, but work to um, find the place that you really belong. And the more conversations that you have with coaches, the more conversations you have with players, you can really find the place that you fit.
What advice would you give those college juniors rising into their senior year, leading the program?
Yeah, that's an easy one for this year, because I think just the experience that we had this past week, it really has helped open their eyes to how fast this all goes. Because they all think back to being freshmen and us talking about, yeah, we're going to go to Italy, and then poof, we're there, and we're driving through the Alps to go play a hockey game. And so I think when you can put things in perspective that quickly, and you can realize that, wait a minute, the clock's ticking here, and it's not about just winning hockey games. It's about building the right environment and creating the right experiences that you have here. And winning is certainly fun. It's a hell of a lot more fun than losing. Um, but I think when you look back at just the experiences that you want to create here, you realize how important every day and every conversation is, every interaction that you have with your teammates. You're not going to get those a year from now. So you want to make sure that you're taking advantage and you're wholeheartedly diving into what we do. And um, that's probably the biggest thing that I think any rising senior can really take to heart.
What advice would you give those college seniors looking to play professional ice hockey after their playing career?
Yeah, don't wait till your senior year to start preparing to play professional hockey. That's an old Coach Gozick line from the men's team, and if you want to play professional hockey someday, that starts before you even get to college, right? Is creating the right habits, creating the right um, details to your game that you understand that you can't walk across the stage at graduation and then suddenly decide you want to play professional hockey. Those professional hockey players that you're built, it takes a long time. There's the investment in yourself that it takes. It's a lot. So you've got to make sure that through the time that you have in college that you're not wasting opportunities. And that can be as simple as, you know, coming and shooting extra pucks. That can be staying after practice for 5 minutes to work on your skating. That can be doing an extra video session. That can be taking a freshman out for a cup of coffee. That can be studying a little bit extra because you know that discipline is going to help you be successful after school. But you've got to understand that all those pieces are interconnected. And I think if if we're doing the right things as coaches, we're trying to explain those to our players as early as possible so that they are prepared for those opportunities when they come up.
What advice would you give those players looking to get into coaching after their playing career?
Do it. Do it. Like don't and not even just the college part, just any coaching. Like get involved, be around the game. And I think one of the hardest parts for first year graduates is you're not part of a team anymore. So you don't have those same feelings. You don't have that same like emotional tie, to something. You don't have a locker room that you could walk into and look around the room and realize that everybody's been going through the same things that you've been going to. You're showing up to the school that you're teaching at, or you're showing up to the cubicle that you work in or whatever. And these are your tasks. Perform your tasks. And it can be a pretty hollow feeling. And so we encourage, all of our players get involved in coaching afterwards. And the lessons that you got from your coaches, hopefully the lessons, the guidance that we gave you as coaches here at Oswego, those are things that you can wear off on other young girls to keep them playing the game, to keep them engaged in the game. And hopefully that helps, develop an opportunity for one of them to go on and play college hockey, or it just keeps them playing, even if they don't play college hockey, it might keep more athletes and especially more female athletes playing post college, even just in beer league or rec league, right? But too often those adult league hockey, it's called men's league, right? That should just be adult league hockey. And I think the more female athletes that we can keep engaged in the game, that we can keep having that love and that passion for the game, the more we'll continue to hold on to those experiences and be able to enjoy the game for a longer period of time.
What advice would you give those future head coaches looking to build their own program and build their own legacy?
That's a good one. Um, be patient. Be patient because I think there's I mean, gosh, look at the job posting board today, right? There's still at this time of year, August 20th, there's still so many coaching positions available in college game right now. And it's easy to think that at, a young age that you're ready and that you're prepared. And you might be, but you might not be. And it's very easy in our business to take on responsibilities too soon and be a little bit overwhelmed. And that leads to some burnout. That leads to people choosing other professions because they hop in at a point when they just weren't totally prepared. And I think the more patient that you can be, the more you can learn, not just from the coaches that you're working with, but from the coaches that you're coaching against. And pick up the phone and call some of those other coaches, get to know them a little bit. And that's where I was really lucky. Um, just especially when I moved here to Oswego, of getting to coach against and watch how some of those coaches operated, and trying to soak in what do they do, how do they operate, what's the environment that they're trying to build, watch how they interact with their players, and I think all those things have really I've tried to soak those in and um, add as many of those pieces to who I am as a coach. And hopefully, when young coaches come in, they're trying to do the same thing so that when they get the opportunities, that they're prepared, not just for themselves and for their own longevity, but for their players, and that they're able to give the players the college experience that they've all dreamed about.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you out on social media along with the program at?
So you can follow our team, Oswego W Hockey, on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Myself, just Mark_Digby at Instagram. The team's definitely way better than I am at social media. I'm not a big social media guy, but the girls are trying to help me along the best that they can and keep things going. But yeah, any follows and anything on our team's social media would be strongly appreciated.
Thank you again, Coach Mark Digby, for your interview and best luck in your future.
Thank you very much for having me on today, Brandon. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach Mark Digby, for your interview and best luck in your future at SUNY Oswego.
Thank you.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.